welcome to a performance from Confident Deceptions by Jason Ladanye. This was his first book to the Magic community, published in 2013. It's been out of print for a while, but Vanishing Ink has just begun printing it again, so it's now available. I'd like to demonstrate a routine from that book called the Big Stack. And if we were doing this, in the course of a performance, then we would be using a deck of cards that you would already be very familiar with. You will have shuffled the cards, been dealing with the cards all night, so you would know that we're dealing with a completely normal, ungimmicked deck of cards with no duplicates or anything like that, okay? With all that said, I'd like to demonstrate something called shuffle tracking. I don't know if you have any idea what this is, but shuffle tracking is a technique that allows you to move certain cards during the course of a shuffle so that they appear in your hand during a game of poker. And it's kind of hard to explain. It's really makes more sense to just see it in action. And I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'll use the queens. I think those will be good cards to use for this. So let's see. Now, if I were doing this for real in an actual game, I would never use queens. They're a little bit too obvious. And you don't ever want to use obvious cards if you're ever gonna cheat or gamble. You wanna use cards that are a little bit more unnoticeable, like maybe 4 3s, or maybe you control a full house, or maybe 4 4s, but not 4 queens. It's a little too obvious. But for demonstration purposes, we'll use the queens. Why not? And like I said, the whole point is in 2 shuffles and 1 cut, I'm going to get these queens to appear in my hand. Now, you may have heard of second dealing or center dealing or bottom dealing. These are gambling moves that occur as you're dealing the cards around and as you're moving the cards around the deck. It's a fine move. The only problem with these moves is that you have to do the move while you're dealing. And the great thing about shuffle tracking is you can do the move all beforehand, then that way when you're actually dealing, there's no work to be done. So that's why I like shuffle tracking. So 2 shuffles and 1 cut, I will put these queens all into my hand. And they start on top of the deck. I'll leave them face up just so that you can see them, but they start right there on top. And it begins with a shuffle. And even in this first shuffle, you'll already begin to see that the queens will get lost down into the pack. They don't stay on the top for long. They just require being controlled to the top for a moment, and then they're already getting shuffled in, okay? You can see it, you can hear it, it is a shuffle. The next step is to take the cards exactly in half, give them another shuffle here, and you'll notice that these shuffles are very precise shuffles. They're not casual shuffles because a lot's going on, and I'm having to be very specific with exactly where these queens are going so that I know at all times where they're at. And you can see as I go here, the queens are getting shuffled further and further down into the deck. I don't even have to know exactly where they are as long as I cut at the exact right spot. And with those 2 shuffles and that 1 cut, I've now positioned everything so that those 4 queens are in my hand. Okay, let's give it a shot and see. If I just deal the cards out, the cards are face up, so I can't do any kind of trickery. That's the Queen of Hearts. That's the first one in my hand. Another little deal around. Again, no trickery. You can see it because it's face up. That's the Queen of Spades. I don't have to do bottom deals or second deals or anything fancy. It's already there. Another round across. And there is the Queen of Diamonds in my hand, okay? Am I making this look easy? Because it's really not. Okay, another round. And of course, the last one there as well, the Queen of Clubs, okay? So that's how you stack the cards in your hands. Now, it's a great move to use. But let's say that you've been watching me, you've been kind of following along, and maybe you're sat right across from me, and you've seen that I can stack these cards in my hands, and maybe you kind of think, and you think to yourself, you know what, I'm going to control the 4 kings. I'm going to switch my cards out. I'm going to do what's called card mucking, and I'm going to give myself the 4 kings, because that's about the only 4 of a kind that could beat my 4 queens. That'd be smart, but I would also tell you, I may have taught you everything you know, but that doesn't mean that I taught you everything I know. So never play against a magician because they're always bound to win.